Are we live? I think we are live. Give me a second here. I believe we are live tonight on a Thursday night. Here on the East Coast, it is 5:55, and we have some pretty big things to talk about today. I'm going to be live streaming for about 45 minutes. Let's wait for a couple of people to get in here, and we'll start this live broadcast. Basically, there are some crazy things going on, as there has been a lot of things that have gone on in the world, the racing world this week. So pack yourselves a lip full of dip. I got myself Copenhagen Southern Blend. Pack yourselves a lip full of dip and crack a cold can. And we will talk about some of the things that have happened this week in the NASCAR world for about the next 45 minutes. I'm going to be doing some shit shooting. We got to talk about this Blake Koch getting fucked over situation. And of course, the status of the 27, which the whole situation just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. Now, for those of you who don't know, Colleague Racing, an Xfinity Series team, is a newer team to the Xfinity Series garage. I mean, let's be serious. That team ain't nothing special. But Blake Koch did wonders, absolute wonders for that team just a couple of years ago. And the fact of the matter is, he has gotten fucked over by Colleague Racing. Now, the whole situation, and I was asked about this, I guess a couple of streams ago, or maybe it was last stream, about the whole situation with Ryan Truex. Where would he go? Where could he go? And I basically came out and said, there is absolutely no way that Ryan Truex is going to find himself a ride for 2018. But now it comes out that Ryan Truex is driving for Colleague Racing, and Blake Koch is now out of a ride. Blake Koch is now out of an absolute ride, full-time ride, and this strikes me in a bad way for a couple of different reasons. Now, we'll get into those reasons, but the fact of the matter is Ryan Truex will be driving that 11 car, that Colleague Racing car, sponsored by Leaf Filter. Now, one of the things that Ryan Truex has over Blake Koch is a sponsorship. That Leaf Filter protection team, that Leaf Filter team, that sponsor is a Colleague Racing sponsor. That is not a Blake Koch sponsor. Blake Koch brought absolutely no sponsorship to that team. Now, Bar Harbor, which was a Ryan Truex sponsor in the Truck Series, has essentially come over to Colleague Racing. So I guess the only way this makes sense is that, one, Ryan Truex brought a little bit of sponsorship over, but that car is still going to be primarily sponsored by Leaf Filter Protection. So I don't get this whole ordeal, this whole situation, because the fact of the matter is Blake Koch took that team to the promised land. He took a Colleague Racing team, which really isn't that good a team, which really isn't that good a car. He took them all the way to Homestead, Miami, just a couple of seasons ago, and Blake Koch pretty much did everything he could have possibly done in that car except win a race. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with this if Ryan Truex was a proven race winner, and he did good things in the Truck Series. And you guys know I can't stand Truex. But the fact of the matter is, Ryan Truex never won a race. So you're bringing in a guy who hasn't gotten a taste of victory lane in one of the three NASCAR Top Series, and you're fucking over Blake Koch. Now, the problem with fucking over Blake Koch is the fact of the matter that You're letting him go so late in the offseason. I mean, you're essentially giving him absolutely no time to find a ride. If you had cut him at the end of the season, had if you had announced in late October, maybe early September, that you were not gonna be bringing Blake Cook back, you give him an opportunity. Again, you give him an opportunity to find a ride. But the fact of the matter is cutting Blake Cook so late in the offseason fucks him over so badly because now he has absolutely 0 time to go find a ride, 0 time to go find a sponsorship. And again, had you cut him in October, had you cut him in November, had you cut him early December, you would have given him a little bit of time to find himself a ride, a little bit of time to find himself a sponsorship. Unfortunately, if you're a Blake Cook fan, Blake is gonna be sitting at home on the weekends because he's got no time. I mean, we're getting close to media days, then speed weeks. I mean, there's basically no time. Maybe he can secure some sort of part-time thing, but again, he's a guy who brings no sponsorship. So you somehow, some way have to find sponsorship for Blake Cook. I don't see anything happening. And again, these announcements from colleague racing and Blake Cook are so baffling because apparently Blake Cook and the owner of colleague racing are best friends. So now, if you have best friends, apparently they're saying that they're still going to remain best friends. This is just a business deal. Their friendship is still going to be strong. I just don't see how you cut someone who is your best friend, who took you, a single car team with one sponsor, all the way to Homestead, Miami, with a chance to win the championship. Now, we all knew Blake Cook wasn't going to win the championship. I mean, the other 3 cars would have had to have wrecked themselves. But the fact that a first-year team with an unknown driver took a leaf filter protection sponsored team all the way to Homestead, Miami was just brilliant. And if you watch that team all year long, he did some great things in that car. Now, I'm not a Blake Cook fan by any means, but I just don't see he's your best friend. If you're the owner of Colleague Racing, he's your best friend. And not only that, he has done wonders for that team, taking them to Homestead, Miami in their first year of existence. And yet they cut him. The only thing I see here is that Ryan Truex brings Bar Harbor along with him for a couple of races. Maybe Elite Filter Protection wasn't so keen on sponsoring the whole season, and they brought in a guy who could bring in a sponsorship with Ryan Truex. I don't know all those things. I don't know all those pieces, but what I do know is that Blake Cook is fucked, and Colleague Racing, the owner of Colleague Racing, if he truly was Blake Cook's best friend, would have cut him in October, in November, in December, where you would essentially have given him time to find a ride. I mean, it's bizarre because now you cut Blake Cook. He's got no time to find a ride. I mean, it's bizarre. You give Blake Cook absolutely no time to find a ride, no time to find a sponsorship. You cut him in November when the season ends, or you announce it in September. You announce it in October. You give Blake Cook to send his resume to teams to get the word out that he's looking for a ride. Somebody would have picked him up. Now you give him absolutely no time to find a ride, and he's absolutely going to be sitting on the sofa when NASCAR weekends come around. And if you're a Blake Cook fan, it's a shame because he did wonders for that team. What is up, Eric Sharkey? Shout out to Eric Sharkey. We got a question here. What are your thoughts on Michael McDowell being on Front Row Motorsports this year? Well, if you didn't know, I'm a huge Front Row Motorsports fan. I'm a huge fan of David Reagan and a huge fan of Michael McDowell. Now, Michael McDowell, another driver who I think absolutely got the short end of the stick. I mean, you look at some of the things he did in that 95 car this season. Michael McDowell finished better in a lot of races in that 95 car than Casey Kane did in the 5 car. Michael McDowell is a heck of a racer. Just a couple of seasons ago, he hopped into a road course car for Richard Childress Racing and won that race in the Xfinity Series. So, if you saw my last stream, Eric, I did say on that stream that I believe the Front Row Motorsports will get a win this year, most likely at a restrictor plate track. But if they were not to win at a restrictor plate track, look for Michael McDowell to win at a road course. He did great things in that 95 car, and Michael McDowell is one of the most underrated NASCAR drivers I have ever seen. This guy works his tail off. He's loved by everybody in that garage area. He has sponsorship. He has companies that are backing him up, such as great radio station in K-Love. I made the prediction that I believe that with the experience and talent of David Reagan and the experience and talent of Michael McDowell, I believe that this Front Row Motorsports team will get back to victory lane in 2018. Michael McDowell is one of my favorite race car drivers, as is David Reagan, and that's going to be one of those teams this season that I absolutely look forward to watching. Um, and I'm calling it now that one of those drivers will win in 2018. No doubt about it. But Michael McDowell, again, one of those guys I absolutely love because he is a religious guy, as am I. And I just think that he's a great absolute race car driver. Any other questions from the viewers? Let them drop them in the comment section down below. I wanted to get on to another topic here, and that's the status of the 27 car. Now, I can't remember the last time that I saw a car, a good, decent ride, be open this late in the offseason as the 27 car is. I mean, you look at this team and this car. Richard Childress obviously let Paul Menard go. He's now at Wood Brothers Racing, which makes complete sense because they're associated with Penske, and Penske uh, uh, obviously is a team associated with Wood Brothers. Yeah, no problem, Erica. Anytime you have a question, just let me know. Drop it down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But going back to this 2017, when was the last time that you saw a car this open, this late in the offseason? A good car. I'm not talking about BK Racing. I'm not talking about Premium Motorsports. I'm not talking about one of those crappy teams. I'm talking about a good, decent ride with Richard Childress Racing. Now, Richard Childress has been very adamant on the fact that they want to keep this ride open. They want to keep this team open. He hasn't sold that charter. I mean, if he was going to, let's just say, not run the 27 in 2018, he would have sold that charter already. So that appears to be a team that wants to run. So the question circulating the NASCAR world is, when is a deal going to be made and when is it going to happen? We know that the 27 team wants to run. Richard Childress wants to run it. So what is the issue here? Why have we not announced a driver? We know Austin Dillon. We know Ryan Newman. Who will be the driver of the 27? That is the big question. And a lot of people, such as my boy Redneck Gamers, thinks it's going to be Jeffrey Earnhardt. Now, we all know I met him. He's the nicest, coolest guy you'll ever meet. And he keeps tweeting, Facebooking, talking in interviews about the fact that he has a ride lined up, a good competitive ride that will make all Earnhardt fans everywhere happy. Where would that be besides the 2017? I mean, if Jeffrey Earnhardt legitimately has a good ride lined up that he hasn't announced, if Jeffrey Earnhardt has a good competitive ride lined up, let's just break that part of his Facebook message down first. If Jeffrey Earnhardt has a good competitive ride lined up, where would it be? Because there's only one team open right now, and that's the 27 team. So you would have to think that if Jeffrey Earnhardt is consistently, week in and week out, talking about the fact that he has a good ride lined up, a competitive ride. There's only one competitive ride left, as far as I'm concerned, and that is the 27 car. Now, look, Ganassi could open up a third car. Roush Fenway could open up a third car. But as far as charters and things we think are going to happen, the only competitive car that is open right now is the 27. Now, he also goes on to say that this new deal he has is going to be a deal that all Earnhardt fans everywhere are going to love. Now, if you're an Earnhardt fan, you're probably also a Richard Childress fan because, as you know, Dale Earnhardt Sr. lived, breathed, and unfortunately died as a Richard Childress racing driver. So, if you're an Earnhardt fan, how cool would it be to see Jeffrey back, to see Jeffrey driving for Richard Childress Racing? So, it makes sense that Jeffrey Earnhardt would be driving the 27. He's been very adamant about the fact that he has a competitive ride lined up, and he has a ride that all Earnhardt fans everywhere would love. Their only option is a 27 car, and it's really the only option across the board. Now, again, on top of that, we know Richard Childress Racing, they want a rider, they want a driver in the 27. Now, the big issue here is sponsorship. Now, we are getting rumors that Hulu is dropping Jeffrey Earnhardt. So if Hulu is dropping Jeffrey Earnhardt, the question now begins, how is he going to secure this ride without any sponsorship? If Jeffrey Earnhardt has lost Hulu, that's the big concern right now. We don't know because things haven't been set in stone, but we are getting confirmation that the old team that Jeffrey drove for was associated with Hulu. Therefore, they don't want to go to another team. Hulu had a deal with the former team of Jeffrey Earnhardt, and Hulu now wants out of the sport. If that is the case, if that is full throttle 100% the case, then Jeffrey Earnhardt only has Starter, and Starter has been a company that has been good to Jeffrey Earnhardt. It's a company that has created maybe the best paint scheme we've seen in all of NASCAR since Dale Earnhardt Sr. died. But the problem with Starter is they have only been adamant on doing a couple of races. So you got to think right now that if Jeffrey Earnhardt is going to be driving this 27 car, he's got to be able to find sponsorship somewhere. And the fact of the matter is, Starter, full frontal, Starter has only been giving money for a couple of races. And if he doesn't have sponsorship, this ride could be lost. Now, a lot of people are saying, there are a lot of people who think that Jeffrey Earnhardt is not going to be driving the 27. And if that's the case, what competitive ride and what ride that Earnhardt fans everywhere will love would he be in? That I don't know. But if Jeffrey Earnhardt was not to drive the 27, a lot of people now are pointing their finger at Blake Koch. And this circles back to Blake Koch getting fucked over at Koch Racing. Because if Blake Koch, because we know that Koch Racing in the past, I'm not 100% sure what they're going to be doing in the 2018 season. But as far as the 2017 season and the 16 season was concerned, Koch Racing was an alliance to Richard Childress Racing. So Blake Koch is a driver that is pretty much familiar with the ins and outs and the operations of Richard Childress Racing. So now if this 27 car doesn't go to Jeffrey Earnhardt, or if Jeffrey Earnhardt can't find sponsorship, Richard Childress Racing really wants to keep this 27 car open. Maybe they really like the upside of Blake Koch, and they take Blake Koch. Maybe they go, hey, Blake Koch is a guy Blake Cook is a guy that got a one-year team, a team with no experience, a one-car team, took them all the way to Homestead, Miami. If that is the case, could we see Blake Cook at the 27? That is the case. But again, this is all up in the air, and Richard Childress Racing has been very, very silent. But again, circling back to the time of the year, I have never seen a good, at least average to decent ride open this late in the season and nothing really happening other than Jeffrey Earnhardt coming out and saying, "We got something going on." Nothing is going on, and look, how much longer, and the fact of the matter is, how much longer is this going to play out? I mean, we're well into January. You're gonna need at least a couple of days. You're gonna at least need a couple of weeks to acclimate yourself with your pit crew, with your crew chief, with your sponsors, with fans. You're gonna want to sell merchandise. You're gonna want to get fans riled up, and I don't see that happening if they don't make a decision soon. I mean, this is starting to scare me. If you're a 27 fan, if you're a Richard Childress Racing fan, you should be scared that even if they get someone in that 27 car, they're not going to have much time with the team. They're not going to have much time with the crew chief. Who knows how successful that team would be this year? It's all up in the air. But again, it is what it is. And it circles back to the fact of what it is. So that's what I wanted to say about Blake Cook, Ryan Truex, the 27 car. We don't have anyone watching on the live stream. Eric left, so we don't have anyone left watching on the live stream. Maybe I'll pop back on at another time, but I just wanted to talk about Blake Cook getting fucked over. The fact that this 27 team is just it's taken so long. I mean, I still cannot remember a time when a ride this good has been open this late into the offseason. And Richard Childress Racing still is adamant on the fact that they will have a driver when Daytona comes around. But again, Richard Childress is very adamant on the fact that they will have a driver when Daytona comes around. And again, I don't know how that's going to happen, but we shall see. So thank you guys for tuning in who tuned in. We'll be back with another stream, and I will see you guys in Victory Lane.